Today, everybody gets one messy paper, one paintbrush, one plate, and you're going to be paired up, and you and your partner need to decide one person's going to get a dark sheet of blue, the other person's going to get a light sheet of blue. So you need to figure that out before you go up to the supply table. If you are the light sheet of blue, you're going to flip it over. You're going to put your name on the back. You'll end up sharing this with your neighbor next time, but just make sure you get your name on it. And you are my 2 in whatever class you're in. Flip it back over. So my person with the light sheet is going to be mixing tints today. Remember, a tint is a color mixed with white. So each group's going to have black, they're going to have white, and they're going to have blue. My person working with tints is just going to have the blue and the white. So they're going to take some white. Make sure to start with the white. You don't want to dip your brush into the blue first, because if you do, you're going to get that white all dirty. I'm going to scoop some paint out onto my plate. Like this. You want to make sure you got a nice little glob of it, because you're going to need to be able to paint that whole sheet of paper. I'm going to get as much of it off my brush as I can. I'm going to take a little bit of blue, not a huge glob, and I'm going to mix it in. So the tip with tints, that's a tongue twister, tip with tints is that you always start with white and add your color to it. Because white is a color that it only takes a little bit of something else to really change it. You can see just that little bit of blue really changed that white into that sky blue. So after I have a tint, I'm going to paint half of my sheet of paper. Just half of it. After you're done, you're more than welcome to take the back of the brush and maybe draw some curves into it. Where it kind of looks like ripples in the water. Just giving it some texture. Alright, now you need to paint the other half. I'm going to take that tint that I just had, get just a touch more blue, and mix that back in with the color I was just using. You can see that my tint is going to get darker. It's still a tint, but it's a little bit darker than the one I was just using. And you're going to paint that other half of your sheet of paper. Hopefully you'll have enough paint. You really need to make sure that you start off with a nice big pile of white. Alright, so I've got 2 tints. I'm going to add a few waves to this other one. Alright, when you're done with this, this goes on the drying rack as low as it can go on top of your messy paper, and your brush will go in the brush bin. But like I said, not everybody's going to be doing tints today. Some of you will be doing shades. So if you're doing the shades, that's a little bit different. You're going to put your name on the back of your big sheet of paper, just like my tints people did. Mr. C, you're my 2, and then whatever class you're in. Flip it back over. And when we worked with tints, we started with white and added a little bit of blue to it. But when you work with shades, you have to do it opposite. I'm going to start with blue, actually. I'm going to glob out a bunch of blue. I knew last time that I ran out of paint, so I'm going to get a little bit extra just to be on the safe side. Just globbing it onto it. Get all that extra paint off my brush. So I've got my blue. Now I'm just going to get just a little bit of black. It hardly takes any black. You don't want a big glob of it. I'm going to mix that in. And just like the white or the blue is really strong when we added it to the white, the black is really strong when you add it to the blue. That's why we're starting with the blue for this one. All right, now I can paint half of this my shade. I'm all done painting my first shade. Once again, I can use the back of my brush. You can draw in a few waves if you want. I'm just using kind of these little curvy lines. Don't overdo it. All right, now I can make my second shade. So we have my dark shade here. I'm going to add just a touch of black to it again. Not a whole lot. And I can use that shade to paint the bottom half. You can see this one's much darker than before. This one is pretty close to black. Alright, so I'm done painting that darker shade. I can add a few waves if I want. Have some come from the edge of your paper, some across the middle. Alright. When my shade people get this far, they can put this in their messy paper on the drying rack and take care of your brush. Right, so today one person's making 2 tints, their partner's going to make 2 shades. Remember that when you make a tint, you start with white and you add a little bit of blue to it. When you want to make a shade, you start with blue and add a little bit of black to it. Remember that they are flipped. When you're done with your paintings, put them on the drying rack and take care of your brush.